Good man. Hello and welcome to this Ibrox. It's your Rangers podcast. As always, you are very welcome to join us. It is Scott Patterson hosting you through a new feature that we're rolling out right across the close season. Now, we've done this previously. It is Your Rangers 11. So it gives the podders the chance to come on and speak about their favourite Rangers 11 with the caveat that it's players they've seen. So it can't just be guys, for example, if you've seen guys or footage of guys in the 70s that you've thought, oh man, he was class, he looked really good, you never saw him, so he can't have been your team. So we're going to roll that out across the pre and close season. All the podders will have the chance to come on and speak about who their Rangers 11 is. And first up, he was first in. Crawford Hume is joining me. Hi Crawford, how are you?
How you doing, Scott? I don't know if it's a good thing being first in.
So listen, before we get into the sort of the bones of this, it's quite difficult, isn't it?
Really difficult. There's some of it that's no difficult because obviously I think there are a couple of players, maybe 3 or 4 players that everybody probably have in their team.
Yeah.
But there's some positions that I struggled with, and I think most folk will be different. Everybody will choose somebody different for them. So it was difficult.
I think as well, we're at the stage just now where certain positions, I think, previously were quite safe almost. I look at right back, for example, just now. When I done this originally, when this Ibrox was originally rolled out, my right back was Gary Stevens. I personally would still have it as Gary Stevens. However, I'm aware with some of the young team that's changed a wee bit. So yeah, listen, I think it's a really difficult thing to do. Let's get into it. Crawford, what's your formation?
Right, I'm going 4-3-3.
4-3-3.
But
sure?
The front 3 is actually a front 2 with number 10 behind them.
Okay, I'm with you. Okay, brilliant, good.
I just done that because I just shoehorn players in.
Yes, I know it well. Okay, so without giving away your age, I reckon you'll have quite a few decisions to make, even as far as goalkeepers are concerned.
Aye.
Who was your keeper?
Hey, goalkeeper's Gorham, because I grew up when I started going. It was the 9-0 team with Walter Smith.
Yep.
So I seen a lot of Gorham, and he was just unbelievable. McGregor would have been a close second, but I think Gorham just did everything. The only thing I think Gorham never had was being able to kick a good ball.
Yeah.
For a big kick, but short stopping probably the best I've ever seen at Ibrox.
And just out of curiosity, how close is it between these two now? I mean, we've spoken in the podcast before about how highly we do rate Alan McGregor. What's the difference between them now? Do you think is McGregor, are the easy peaks here, or do you think Gorham was a good bit ahead of Alan McGregor?
I think Gorham's a good bit ahead of him.
Yeah.
I do. I think because time passes, you forget how good Gorham was, and you just have to remind yourself. And for this, I kind of went back and I was watching some YouTube clips and stuff. And if you even just that save from Van Hooydonk at Ibrox against Celtic, that save alone, Gorham was special. He was really special, and I think even the fact that Alex Ferguson signed him from Man United at his at a grand old age just shows you how good he was. He was tremendous, and McGregor's been brilliant for Rangers. Great shot stopper, but he does have elements of his game that's no great. So no, Gorham for me was a wee bit ahead of him, so that's why I plumped for him.
Brilliant, good start. I can hear a lot of people agreeing with you. Some indeed. I know that the editor, our all-encompassing boss, will be very chuffed. That's a good start. Well done. Okay, so in the back 4, we'll go right to left. And this is where it'll get exciting. Right back, on you go.
Right back, I've chose Tavernier.
Okay.
Right. I never seen Gary Stevens, or if I did, I was too young and I can't really remember seeing him. So, and I'd spoke to my dad about it, and he said you have to pick Gary Stevens, but I said, Dad, I've never seen, and I can't remember seeing him, so that's why I have not picked him. I've picked Tavernier because the boy's been here for a good chunk of time now, and he's seen us through for the first division. He's been captain. He gets a lot of stick, but if you actually sit back and you look at his numbers, his stats are unbelievable.
Yeah.
And if you take him out of our team, I think you notice it. You really notice it. It gives us so much going forward. Lets you settle down sometimes defensively, but that's the way of a modern fullback. And I just think when years pass and we all look back in this team, I do remember Tavernier phoning and realise how much he's done for the club. Led us to that final in May there. So I went for him. I also was thinking Claudio Arena. That was a close one as well, because although he only played in position maybe for a season under Advocat, he was tremendous in that position at right back.
He really was.
He was brilliant, busting into midfield. He was excellent, but no, I've went for Tavernier, and I'll probably be controversial. It might not be, but that's who I've went for.
Okay, good. That's a good start. So you've obviously 9 in a row. You'll have had loads of centre half partnerships to speak about. Amoruso, Moore, Goff, Goldson. The list does go on. We've been quite blessed with having really good centre halves, particularly in that 9 in a row period and up to current day. Who are your 2 centre halves for us?
I've went for Richard Goff and Craig Moore.
Brilliant.
So Goff, I don't even think you have to say anything about Goff. He's just Captain Marvel, tremendous. Yep. I've seen a lot of him growing up again at 9 in a row team. He was superb, head of ball, passer, super fit. As I say, captain, great talker, great communicator, just excellent. Good at scoring goals for corners, so he was an easy choice. Craig Moore started off a bit of a utility player.
Yeah.
And when he play centre half, he's more to be a right back. Sometimes played right mid, centre mid. But when Advocat came in, Advocat seen him as a centre back, and physically he wasn't the biggest, but he was so aggressive. Hartson and Sutton, he never get bullied. Really good passer. And between him and Amoruso, I'd be more worried if Moore wasn't playing rather than Amoruso. And he grew to be grew to love the club and was a true Ranger, and I thought he was brilliant, and especially under Advocat, he was tremendous.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So I think when I done mine, I'm almost sure, and I would need to search about my paperwork certainly, but I think I went with Goff and Moore as well. So apart from anything else, 2 things. It shows you're nearly as old as I am, I think. But secondly, listen, joking aside, as far as Goff's concerned, he was the original sort of Captain Fantastic as far as I was concerned. That period of 9 in a row was just incredible to be a Rangers supporter, and we were blessed with having a lot of good Scotsmen as well at the team. In that point, you look at guys like Stuart McCall, Ian Ferguson, McCoy, Durant, they were all involved. And it was a special time to follow in the club. But Goff at the sort of the top of the tree, if you like, overseeing that all, I think was really important. And I agree fully with Craig Moore as well. I think Oz was a fantastic defender, quite an underrated defender. And I don't know if that was because he was playing beside big, sexy Lorenzo, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people just sort of loved Lorenzo because he was Lorenzo. But Craig Moore was a fantastic defender for Rangers, and I think we were very lucky to have him. It's not until you look back at the centre halves that we've had previously that you realise just how good he was. You know what I mean? So far we have. Hold on a second, just let me refer to my notes. We have Tav at right back, which we agree with. We've got Goff and Craig Moore, your 2 centre halves, marshalled by Andy Gorham as your goalkeeper. Left back.
Left back is Davy Robertson.
Wow, Davy Robertson.
Davy Robertson. This one was really close with him and Arthur Newman.
Yep.
But see, for me, I grew up again. Davy Robertson, I think, was signed early 90s and came from Aberdeen. And I actually remember watching him with Aberdeen. I thought I'd love it if Rangers signed him. And I remember thinking that was a wee boy. But his pace, his thighs, like tree trunk.
Absolutely.
Strong guy. He was rapid down that wing, so physical. Probably an early day modern fullback. He was, bombing down there all the time, and I loved watching him. Tremendous getting to the byline, and as I say, his pace, nobody could get past him. Rapid, and I went for him because he just always sticks in my mind as my favourite left back with Rangers. Newman came in, and obviously he speaks for himself. He was, played the World Cup with Holland and everything, and tremendous calibre of player. But I've just plumped for Robertson. I think that's just my personal choice. I think maybe a lot of people will go for Newman, and I would understand that because it's really close between the two. But no, I've went for Robertson.
I think the one thing about Davy Robertson as well was, and you're right to refer to do that comparison with then and now. He did bomb forward, he formed an incredible relationship with someone who I suspect will be in your team round about number 11. But he was also a really good defender. How many times do you talk about fullbacks now, and the first thing you say is they're great going forward, but something in the back of your head's going like, see, as a defender, he's a bit shaky and he has his moments and all that good stuff. David Robertson was quite a good defender. And I think first and foremost, that was his job, and I think he done it well. So listen, we have a back four: James Tavernier, Richard Gough, Craig Moore and David Robertson.
And out of that back four, I think there's only one, probably Tavernier, that's got a mistake in him and can expose the rest of the defence. See, the rest of them, Moore would always cover for Amoruso's mistakes. Gough very rarely made a mistake, and Robertson would come in and cover the back four as well if there was a mistake. So I've only really got one defender that you could probably say is quite attacking and can leave yourself open. It is quite a strong defensive-minded defence. So I'm happy with
it. Good man. So no place for. There's not a Rickson in there at right back.
No.
There's not a Hutton in there anywhere.
No.
There's no Amoruso, no Arthur Newman, and there's no Dave McPherson.
No.
Three across the middle, I would assume.
Yes.
Now, I reckon I think I'll know two of them, but you may surprise me, so I'll let you carry on.
Right, so I've got one sitter and then two sitting in front. So the sitter will be Barry Ferguson.
Yep.
Probably my favourite Rangers player. Not the best Rangers player, but my favourite Rangers player. I grew up 15, 16, he was breaking in, just the tail end of 9 in a row, and I idolised him. When I played football, I tried to play like him. I just absolutely worshipped the guy. I thought he was brilliant. Stood it like a sore thumb. I thought
from a really early age.
Aye, he did. And the fact that Advocat came in and said, no, the team's getting built around him as a 19-year-old boy, showed you how good he was. Rangers through and through, to be captain at 22, taking off Amoruso as well. And I remember when he left, I absolutely gutted when he went, because I just thought, we've lost our best player. And then he came back, and probably wasn't as good when he came back, but he was still miles ahead of anything else in the country, in my opinion. Just did everything. Just a lot of people slagged him a lot of time for playing sideway balls, but he was keeping possession. He never lost the ball in tight positions, used his body well, shielded the ball, had a bit of dig about him, great vision. And that season, we won the treble. He scored 20 goals, and all of them are penalties.
He was incredible.
He was unbelievable that year, and good with Scotland as well. So that was a no-brainer for me. So he's a sort of tremendous player.
I remember watching Ferguson that season you talk about, and I'm sure there was a night he scored a hat-trick against Dundee United at Ibrox, and he dismantled them by himself, and he was playing in that sort of, he was given a bit more freedom to sort of move forward, scored the hat-trick, free kick. It was an outstanding performance. I was very much like you. I was growing up monitoring his progress, and he was the sort of guy you were sort of trying to model the way you play on. Now, whether that's passing it to the side or not, I don't know, but ultimately you say, I always remember when I was growing up, I played centre midfield, and I always remember when I was told, you know what I mean, if you're playing centre midfield, you know what I mean, ultimately try and progress, but don't give the ball away, keep the ball. And listen, Barry Ferguson was a master at that, and we'll, as far as I'm concerned, it will take a long time before we ever see a Scottish midfielder like him again, particularly playing with Rangers. So yes, I completely agree with you. He was in my team as well, playing in exactly the same role. Two midfielders ahead of him, then on you go.
Right, so the first one's Gaza.
Yeah.
Playing the right centre mid, in front of Ferguson. You don't even know what I say about him. Just a genius, the guy. The first two seasons before the third one where he went, especially the first season, eight in a row, he was unbelievable. Just what a football player. Not so much a digger, but passing, box to box, skillful, scoring goals, just unbelievable. That game against Aberdeen when he scored the hat-trick, that's up there in my memories as a young boy. Probably one of the best days ever. And just worship the guy. I mean, came to Scotland with that bleached blonde hair, and there was even Celtic fans getting their hair bleached. I mean, what an icon! And when we signed him, I don't think there'll be a signing ever that captured the imagination like Gaza did. And he was just, he lived up to it. Just a tremendous football player, and he was a no-brainer. You've got, I think we'll all have him in his team. I'm surprised if there's people that don't have him. Well, unless you've not seen him, but if you've seen him, you've got to have him in your team.
Gaza was always capable of providing moments. I think moments that changed games. I mean, you look at the goal he scored at Ibrox against Celtic when he sort of wins the ball in his own centre, in his own box, and then up the other end of the pitch, diving header, great delivery by Jordan Alberts. But it's wee things. I remember Rangers were playing Partick Thistle at Firhill, and he came up against a wee guy that was playing centre mid called Billy Mcdonald. I'm sure it was Billy Mcdonald, his name was. And Billy Mcdonald was clearly told at the start, do you know what I mean, get in and around Gaza's face. And Gaza just had to take it all day. And eventually, like, the fans were getting on his back, and about, I think it was halfway through the second half, he scored an absolute cracking goal that was just a simple drop of the shoulder, but it was something that completely changed the game. And he was always capable of doing things when it mattered. Do you know what I mean? And I completely agree with you. A wonderful talent, a bit of a maverick. I think everyone appreciates that. Maybe he's had his issues in the past, some sort of by his own doing, certainly. However, from a footballer perspective, my goodness, what a talent he was. Who's your number 3 in the midfield then?
Alberts,
good shout.
Alberts. Probably no a centre mid, but I've put him in left centre mid because I just had to get him in there. I absolutely loved him. What a player. Close between him and Van Bronckhorst, because I thought Van Bronckhorst for 2 seasons as well was tremendous, but just Albert's ability to score out of nowhere. Any time he got the ball, left hand side of the park, if he's hitting it, 5
good chance.
It was just unbelievable. Free kicks, set pieces, corners, passing ability. Wasn't the fastest, but he was actually quite a good tackler, because he played left back a couple of times under Smith and he did quite well. Just a brilliant player. I loved him. He loved the club. He bought into it. He still comes over. He's got a great affinity with the club, and I think he was tremendous. Just that every time he got the ball and the crowd would just scream, shoot. Some of the goals he scored as well, absolute screamers. I don't think there's ever been a player that's like Alberts that's scored so many long range shots for us. I mean, certainly not recently. We don't hardly seem to score anything from outside the box, but anytime he got it, you'd think, oh, we've got a good chance here. And he was skillful, just tremendous. Had to get him in there.
I was gutted when Alberts left. Absolutely crushed. I really was. You're absolutely right. You remember going to Ibrox and as the ball would sort of nestle in front of him, or if he would take a touch ahead where he knew he wouldn't almost have to break stride to strike it, you're like, oh my God, this goalkeeper's in for a tough afternoon. You know what I mean?
If you had a penalty, it was a goal.
Absolutely. I mean, my goodness, you're absolutely right. He was a really, really, I don't want to say sort of steady Eddie in the middle of the park, because that almost sounds you patronising, because I think he was a really technically a very, very good player. And he was at a time where Rangers were blessed with so many options in the middle of the park. You mentioned Giovanni. He was there at the same time as Barry Ferguson. Tugai was there as well, who was, of course, playing the centre of the park. We were blessed with so many options in there. And Alberts just had that sort of, without sounding like Alan Partridge, that rotary engineer left peg. Do you know what I mean? It was he was class. I have to say, he was absolutely excellent. So your midfield is Barry Ferguson cleaning up with Paul Gascoigne and Alberts in front of him. That's a decent team so far, I have to say, buddy. And now on to the bit that's going to get you the goals, although there will be goals coming from Alberts and obviously James Tavernier at right back, we have to say. Front 3 then, on you go.
Right, so behind the front 2, I've got probably the best player I've ever seen, Brian Laudrup.
Absolutely.
It was probably more of a winger, but I think he could play in there.
Yeah.
I think he could, but and I think maybe he did a few times. He was quite young when I seen him, but he absolutely lit the place up. I mean, when he signed from Milan, I don't think many had heard of him. Certainly I hadn't as a youngster, but straight away just stood out. Best player in Scotland, probably the best player up there with the best players there's ever been in Scotland. Dribbling ability, getting to the byline, crossing, scored goals. I mean, if you were facing him up as a fullback or a defender 1-on-1, you were in serious trouble.
Yeah.
Just became an absolute hero, and he still is. He's still revered. He's just just unbelievable. And you can't get enough to say about the guy. He was just brilliant. I think most people, if they've seen him, well, everybody that's seen him has got to have him in his team.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
I mean, the thing about Brian Laudrup, other than just being technically really, really, really good, he was an athlete, looked after himself.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? Came across as quite a quiet, unassuming character. And I think that helped the way he played a bit, to be honest with you, because you knew that when you gave him the ball, something magic was going to happen. But it was just, he was very, very relaxed about it. I mean, you look at the header he scored at Tannadice. I think it was one of the only headers he scored at Rangers. Goal at Celtic Park in I think it was the semi-final when he was through in Stuart Kerr. He scored a really wonderful chip for the touchline against Aberdeen at Ibrox, which was incredible, and we've never seen anything like it again. He was a wonderful footballer. I remember when it came to our signing Laudrup, and of course his brother was playing at the time, Michael. And when I heard that we were signing Laudrup, I instantly thought, "Wow, Rangers are signing Michael Laudrup." And you're absolutely right. We brought in his younger brother, who was younger at the time, and whisper it perhaps, but I think there's a bit of debate over who was the better brother. And Michael Laudrup was a fantastic footballer who played at a wonderful standard. Barcelona, Real Madrid, really, really good footballer. But I would argue that from a technical side of things, his brother was just as good, if not that little bit better. So we're sitting Brian Laudrup in the space, effectively. So
float about.
Do as he pleases. Yeah. Two up top.
Hateley McCoist. Hateley McCoist. We've had good strikers since then. You know, Moles, Chris Boyd for his goals, Big Purcell,
Jelavic.
Morelos, Jelavic, but I don't think any of them come close to McCoist and Hateley. I mean, that partnership. I was lucky I got to see it. Hateley, just a battering ram. I mean, probably the best we've ever had in the air. You know, you could play that long ball to him, but you could play it in his feet. He had pace, ball over the top, he'd run onto it. He scored a goal at Parkhead. You can go back on YouTube and watch it, and he's over the top. His pace is clean onto it. Wicked left foot. The goal he scored against Leeds in the Battle of Britain, what a goal that was.
Yep.
A brilliant player, and he was an excellent foil for the main man, Mr. McCoist, because again, so lucky I got to see him. Probably he was getting towards the tail end when I really started going to Ibrox, but I got to see him in his pomp in the season 92-93 when we only got to the first Champions League final, and he was brilliant. He probably missed 3 chances before he scored, but he was always there. Probably the luckiest striker as well, because things would bounce off him in the goal, but hard as nails as well, McCoist. People don't realise how hard he was up against defenders like McLeish, Willie Miller, Roy Aitken. Didn't shirk it. He gave everything back. Tremendous personality for the club as well. And just, I mean, record goal scorer. What else should you say about them?
And you know, it's funny because when we start doing this, and the viewers and our listeners all, everyone's at a different stage of their Rangers support in life. We'll have guys that will be on the pod doing this, and they would never have been to Ibrox and seen McCoist, Hateley, Laudrup, maybe even some of the guys we mentioned earlier, Richard Gough, etc. They wouldn't have had the opportunity to go back and or to see these guys unless they're looking at it on footage of YouTube or anything they've seen on the television. But as far as McCoist and Hateley were concerned, you talk about Rangers don't play with 2 up top anymore, and they've never had a duo that was as deadly as those 2 ever in my lifetime. I doubt very much they will again. The bond that they both sort of built and shaped, I think, was really important as well. It's easy to forget as well. For part of the time that when McCoist and Hateley were there, Graham Souness brought in Maurice Johnston, who was also an excellent striker and one of my sort of favourite players that played with Rangers in the previous past. Rangers were blessed with such quality up front in those days. And of course, Maurice Johnston came in with a great reputation from his time in France and Nantes. So McCoist actually spent a bit of time on the bench to accommodate Johnston, and I don't think it went too well down with him or indeed the fans, certainly in those days. But what a duo. I mean, I see Mark Hateley was such a good player as well. I mean, you don't go and play in Milan, particularly in those days when Milan were right up and at it. Baresi, all these sort of guys were all there, and Hateley fitted in like a glove. And when he came into Rangers, he was a real steal to bring in from Monaco when he eventually arrived. So we'll run through 11 again. Some team, by the way, I have to say. Well played. You've put a lot of thought into this.
Right.
Andy Gorman, sorry, and you go, mate. Carry on.
No, so Gorham.
Yep.
Tavernier right back, Robertson left back, Goff and Moore centre backs, Barry Ferguson's your sitting midfielder, Gascoigne to the right of him, Albert's to the left, Laudrup in the hole, but with a free role to go wherever he wants and do whatever he wants just because it's Laudrup, and then Haley McCoist up front. So
just out of curiosity, and this will be the last one I ask you, you'll be delighted to know. If you're picking a captain, you're in that changing room and they're all ready to go out. Who's your captain going to be? Who are you picking to lead them out? I know how I would pick.
I'm going to have to go with Goff.
Yep.
I was going to get to Ferguson, and I've actually put captain next to him, but I think in the changing room, if that was the team, I think Goff would probably assume the role, and the rest of the players would probably think he should be captain. So, Richard Goff. Brilliant.
Yeah, listen, I can't disagree with anything like that you've said there. It's a really good starting. And you know, it does, I mean, I joked earlier on about us being similar ages. We're clearly not a million miles away. However, it does speak to the fact that from the sort of 90s, we were blessed with such quality. You know what I mean? Going back as far as your guys like McCoist and Hateley, as I say, we'll have guys on this to give us their best 11, and they wouldn't have seen anything like quality like that. And do you know what I mean? I would argue with ever again. So, Crawford, that's a first class 11. Thanks for coming back on and giving us it, mate. Well done.
No worries. Cheers. Enjoy that.
Yeah, so we're going to be rolling this out right through close season. I'm not entirely sure who is next. I suspect if it's one of the young team, it'll be quite exciting viewing. I fully expect people like Kevin Kyle to get a mention at some point as close season carries on. So we'll look forward to that. Crawford, good to see you again. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Thanks.
Cheers, mate. Ta.